Your chairman, let's talk about this crime picture, Steve. Is it any wonder when you get this situation where you have Democratic officials in major cities basically trying to stop the police from doing their job? Is it any wonder that you get resignations from the police force and higher crime, and you'll get into this incredible cycle of violence and destruction that we seem to be in?
Yes, in the past year, the crime has risen dramatically in the United States after tapering down over the last 30 years before that. The murder last year of 20,000 versus 16,000 the year before. And you see it in these cities. There was a survey of 57 cities in this country where the murder rate last year went up 37% on average. And so no wonder police are resigning, and they are not being backed by their political leaders. And you have the mayor of Chicago saying now she wants police officers to have to get permission from a supervisor to give chase to a criminal on foot. We already saw in another city what happened when police couldn't chase a car with a gunman in it because they had to get permission to do that. So this kind of thing just undermines morale, and hopefully these cities, well, the voters will take matters in their own hands and give the police the backing, because you can't have a functioning city without public safety, period.
It's hard to resist the conclusion that these Democratic leaders in many of these cities actually really do want to literally undermine the police. They're quite happy to see the police withdraw. They're quite happy to see morale hit so hard. This is the whole idea of, defunding the police. They actually want somehow, they seem to favour the criminals over the police.
Well, that's right. And you saw the hypocrisy in New York, where a mayoral candidate says she wants to defund the police, and yet she has her own private security. She's got the funds to do it. So that kind of hypocrisy is rampant. And they want protection when it comes to their own persons, but they're not doing it for the public. And I think the public across the board is against that. And you've got a little taste of it, Jerry, in Texas, where you have lawlessness on the border thanks to what the Biden administration did. And in recent mayoral elections there, Republicans did extremely well, including a city of 150,000, 85% Hispanic. They elected a Republican mayor. People want safety.
And it's not just undermining the police, is it, Steve? You get these Democratic elected prosecutors in many of these cities with their so-called bail reform, with their kind of going easy on crime. Again, the message seems to be we're more concerned about the criminals than we are about the victims.
Well, that's right. And you saw, sadly, in Philadelphia, the re-election of a DA like that. And these DAs are coming in with the backing of funds from left-wing sources that want this kind of lack of law enforcement. But the public's not going to stand for it, Jerry. And I think what's happening now, both on the border and in these cities, totally unnecessary. But in the meantime, though, you see it in New York and elsewhere. Thousands of experienced officers are taking early retirement or quitting altogether.
And as you say, this has to be a political opportunity for Republicans. You've seen it in a couple of places already. By the way,
I think you're going to see it big time next year in the congressional elections. May not show up in the polling, but people want safety. And
you saw it even, what's puzzling to me is that, in the 2020 election, we saw that whole defunding the police thing. A lot of Democrats who lost blamed the defunding the police for their loss and said, this is crazy, we've got to stop it. And yet this anti-police rhetoric and action still seems to go on in the Democratic Party.
It's a determined group who are anti-police. Most people support the police. They want reform where the reform is needed, like what Senator Tim Scott has proposed, sensible reforms. But they do want the police to have backing. But this determined group is against it. And what is shameful is not that a group like this would try to undermine public safety, but that the political leaders are too cowardly to stand up to them.
Steve Forbes, thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Jerry.